Good morning and welcome back to CityLine. With me, I have two individuals who are here to talk about a project called Northwest Unfiltered, and it's got a real catchy phrase to it. Let's find out what it is. Please join me in welcoming Mr. Dean Burke. You are President and CEO of Northwest Unfiltered. Welcome, my dear.
Hi, good morning.
And look at the shoes. Can we get a shot of the shoes? He's got blue suede shoes on. I don't know if we... Oh, lift your foot up. There it is. I mean, it's a rainy day outside. You are an exceptionally well-dressed CEO. Thank you for rising to the occasion. Mr. Matt Wakefield, you are a Senior Communications Manager for Northwest Unfiltered as well, and has a very nice pair of wingtips on, I might say.
Definitely.
Very, very nice. Very dapper.
Not as good as the blue suede, but...
Well, I don't know. In some books, those wingtips overshadow the blue suede.
Got it.
Tradition. So let's talk about this. First off, Dean, I want to ask you this question because you are steeped and knee-deep in the tourism industry. If you are brand new to Tacoma, and let's say you're standing up on the hill by Stanley and Seaforts, what is it you want people to see?
This is like my favorite thing to talk about because Tacoma is so unique in its platform. If you're standing there or just about anywhere in Tacoma, you are sandwiched nicely between a saltwater shoreline and a 14,410-foot glacial volcano, right? So, you know, the distance between the top of Mount Rainier and the saltwater shore on Ruston Way is 42 miles. There's so much density in that amount of space that's happening. And the fact that we get to live in this existence in between all that, you know, we have this layer, this manufactured layer of life in there with what we do in between. It's the coolest setting.
Absolutely it is. I mean, I just got back from vacation, and every time I come back home here, I still say there is no place as beautiful as the Pacific Northwest, and even Washington State, because we have it all here, and especially in Tacoma when you describe it that way. Matt, how would you answer that if I asked what's unique about Tacoma and Pierce County compared to other destinations?
Well, Dean definitely covered the natural side of things, like the sea and the summit. But the manufactured layer to that, when you look out and see that we have this glass art scene, we have two world-class glass art collections separated by a bridge of glass right up the street from a boutique hotel that centers around glass art. So I think that's something that we have that no one else has. But a lot of the reason that it's great is that it's located in such an incredible place. There are other glass museums, but I mean, like Dean said, where it's located makes all the difference here.
Oh, it does. I mean, not like that. I mean, yeah. I often wonder if there's been an increase in car accidents, people slowing down, wanting to
705.
See what's in there. There we go. So Dean, what prompted the merger between the Sports Commission and Travel Tacoma? Because that's what we have going on here.
So the two biggest agencies in tourism development for Tacoma and Pierce County, the whole county, are the Sports Commission and Travel Tacoma, which is a Convention and Visitors Bureau. And this past year, in June of 2018, the former CEO of Travel Tacoma resigned, moved back to the East Coast to be by his family. And so there was a vacancy. I had already been at the Sports Commission for the last 5 years as the executive director there, and it's something I've been thinking about for a while because we're very sister agencies that work very closely together. So it made a lot of sense, and the timing was right, the moment was right, kind of where we are in our narrative and our trajectory for the two. And so, you know, I made the approach and said, let's have a conversation about this. And 6 months later, here we are.
It's really a beautiful match made in heaven. It really is. So let's expand upon that. How is tourism and sports marketing an economic development agency for Tacoma and Pierce County? Give us an example of how they kind of overlap.
I'll just throw a couple of big numbers at you. Tourism for Pierce County is a $1.2 billion industry. So there's 12,350 jobs in Pierce County, 12,350 jobs in Pierce County on tourism alone. The outdoor sports and recreation sector is also just almost $1.2 billion separately.
Wow.
You know, so they're massive industries here.
Absolutely. Yeah. So a merger is a coming together of two organizations, and many times we expect there to be change. Is there going to be change to these organizations, Dean?
Yeah, yes and no.
Okay.
You know, we're certainly by way of coming together, we'll do a rebranding and some rebuilding this year to get to that, some new messaging there. But then, you know, the other piece of mergers is scale of efficiency, right? You know,
There we go.
I mean, we're really, you know, from behind the curtain able to leverage our strengths together and work as a team more cohesively. So that should result in better and bigger projects for us.
It's going to be, I mean, just a mammoth organization in terms of wealth of knowledge and what you cover on that spectrum in terms of tourism and all of those events. So how do other cities structure their sports marketing, travel, and tourism organization to avoid some duplicity?
So basically, most markets in the United States have got a convention and visitor bureau first. Right. That's usually the leading thing. And then most of your better markets will have a sports commission also. And whether they're integrated together or they stand alone separately is kind of depending on the temperature of the market and what's going on. So our agencies have stood separate since the Sports Commission was founded in 1991. And the Travel Tacoma is 30 years old this year, by the way. It's an anniversary year. So. So the time is right for them to come together, and that makes sense for our market. And again, it makes some sense for other markets as well. It just kind of depends on what's happening there. But they're common. You know, we're both agencies are the fabric of tourism generation as we go across the country.
Stronger together, great umbrella organization. So Matt, based upon that, when you think about notable wins for us in tourism and sports in the recent year, what are they? What are some notable ones?
I think in the recent years, plural is something that shows the difference a lot better. The community has really come together in Tacoma. You'll see things you wouldn't have seen before. We are a glass first place now. We have, like, Pacific Avenue is now perfect for visitors, for convention delegates. You walk down Pacific Avenue, there's no gaps anymore. It's all just historic brick buildings that have been repurposed to really visitor-facing things, boutiques, bakeries, and that kind of thing. So I think a lot of it is what the community has really come together and realized that we are a tourism destination in the last year. I think that's been a huge victory for what Travel Tacoma has done, is to rally the community to realize that we are a tourism destination. I mean, hold your head up, Tacoma. You're beautiful. You know.
Absolutely. What would you add to that, Dean?
Yeah, I mean, the social platform change, I mean, every minute we're getting better, right? I mean, literally every day you wake up here and you're better than we were the day before.
That's right.
And so we have so much to keep talking about with that narrative and the types of events and the platforms and the things that are being constructed, from the museums to the hospitality to the events we're hosting.
And then all the great transportation that's connecting this infrastructure for all those tourists coming. So, question for both of you, and I'll let Matt lead off here first. What big events, or let's say trends, should we be looking for in the near future in our little city?
I'd say this year there's something called the Great Race, which is the historic, it's a car rally of classic cars from like the 1920s.
Like the movie.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So you'll see it, it's coming from California this year, and they decided to end it in Tacoma. And so they're going to be driving these cars, these old convertibles from the 20s, like leather helmets and goggles kind of thing.
Are you serious?
A whole chain of them going to come up from California, and that's going to be in June. So that's something you're not going to be able to miss once it's here. I mean, it's going to be driving, it's going to come through Spanaway, drive around Mount Rainier, and end in Tacoma. There's going to be events for that. The public's going to be able to come out and see these cars. That's going to be massive.
Oh, I'm so there.
Yeah. One other one I'd say is the opening of Wilson Way, which is through Metro Parks. They're going to connect. Yeah. They're going to connect They're going to connect Ruston Way waterfront with Point Defiance Park finally. 7-mile Woods to Waterfront Trail. They're connecting it with a pedestrian bridge that's going to have the best views. And I think that's going to change the whole waterfront here. And we're really looking forward to that.
Anything you want to add to that, Mr. Dean? Because Matt's got it going on.
Yeah, you know, the Great Race is cool. Those cars crank start. You
Oh,
know,
I can't wait to see it. One of my favorite movies.
I'll throw a couple of sports things in there as well. So May 31st this year will be the 70-48 race. That's the human power paddle and rowing race from Tacoma to Port Townsend.
Wow.
It's 70 miles. You have 48 hours to complete it. This is the second year for that. Absolutely huge. It starts on the Foss Waterway. And then in December of this year, a really big one at Fort Steilacoom Park in Lakewood, the USA Cycling National Championship for cyclocross. The national championship. So all 50 states will be here. 6 days of racing. We're working on this project for years, and here it is. It's this year. So
God, you two are like wonderful walking, slick, honest brochures. It's like I keep opening the pages and getting more and more stuff from you. I love it. Okay, so this is a question for Dean. What will we be talking about if you come on CityLine 3 years from now, which you will be? They'll stalk you.
Oh my gosh.
But what's going to be the buzz?
There's so much stuff we didn't get to cover today that we're working on that I hope to see flourishing in 3 years. And one of those things I'll just touch on is our hope and need to develop a true signature event for Tacoma and Pierce County, a sustainable one. Right now, we're kind of a collection of a lot of great events that kind of come and go, or maybe they come and go, they visit at interval, but we don't have that thing that happens every single year. And some examples of that, like in Seattle, they have like Bumbershoot or Seafair,
right.
or like in Spokane, they have Bloomsday or Hoop Fest. It doesn't have to be sport, art, entertainment, whatever. Non-biased to what that's going to result in, but that we have that thing that we come back to every time that's uniquely ours.
I love that. So I'm going to tuck that away and remind you of that in 3 years. I want to have both of you back on this comfy couch when that great race promo starts.
Cool.
So we can really stir up the interest. Thank you, both of you, for being here today, for the teams that you represent, and for all of the enthusiasm and the commerce that you bring to this project. I mean, this is an incredibly bright, successful merger, and I couldn't be happier. So thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Amanda.
My pleasure. All right, we're going to do a little bit of switcheroo here in the studio, and when we come back, Associated Ministries will be here to talk about their conference coming up. You don't want to miss that. We'll be right back.